Welcome back to the Morning Show here on Rise News. Nigeria's political landscape seemed so polarized before, during, and even after the recent presidential election, a situation which led to the emergence of the Conference of United Political Parties with the objective of backing the main opposition candidate, Atiku Abubakar, in his bid to unseat President Muhammadu Buhari. However, the United Progressive Party, under the chairmanship of Chief Chekwas Okorie, was not part of that coalition, preferring not to field a candidate at all for the presidency. But the party intends to present candidates for the forthcoming governorship and state assembly polls. From Arise Abuja studios, Chief Chekwas Okorie now joins us to look at the strength and the reach of his party going into those elections, as well as his love for President Muhammadu Buhari. We want to say welcome this morning to the show.
Good morning.
Yes, Chief Chekwas, we actually started off by saying that congratulations for the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari, who you so love and adore. But now let's focus on the gubernatorial elections that are coming. We know that in the southeast, your party has a cult following. What are the chances of your party to emerge victorious in the coming gubernatorial polls and also the state assembly elections?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We are very confident that we will do very well, especially in Imo State and Enugu State, where our governorship candidates are quite strong. Then in terms of the state assembly elections, we will do very well in the whole of the southeast and some parts of the north. Because what we did in that regard was to domesticate the Not Too Young to Run Act, and to that extent, we encourage so many young people who are popular but may not have the resources to go through the cost of paying nomination fees. So we waived the nomination fees for this category of Nigerians, and that gave us quite a good number of those aspirants across the country, and many of them are doing very well in the campaigns, and they are so grateful that the party gave them that opportunity to stand for elections and showcase what they were able to do in their various constituencies. So we will do a lot better in the state assembly elections across the country, but we're expecting a victory, especially in Imo State, where our candidate, again, the one who sponsored the Not Too Young to Run bill and the state and the House of Representatives, Honorable Tony Nwolo, is the same person now. We've given the chance to fly our flag in Imo, and he's doing wonderfully. He's a breath of fresh air. Many people are tired of what has been happening over the years with the kind of characters that have come to represent or govern Imo State. So we have placed a lot of premium on his ability to deliver, and he's doing wonderfully well. In Enugu, we have another vibrant young man, Ekene Uzodimma, who is also a new person on the block, very vibrant, who has also been active in civil society matters, in human rights matters. So it's only in politics, partisan politics, and contesting for office that is quite new. But he's bringing to bear his goodwill in human rights and civil society activities. So these are the areas we are strong for governorship, to be very realistic, but for House of Assembly, it cuts across the country.
But when you look at the results from the presidential elections and the voting pattern over the years, the PDP has the Southeast as a stronghold. And in Imo State, you refer to, which we are so confident about, Governor Chekwas Okorie has insisted and seems to follow his words with support about his son-in-law, Uche Nwosu, who he says would become the next governor of the state. Do you think that your party has the apparatus to match Governor Chekwas Okorie in Imo State? And of course, generally in the Southeast, the PDP that has held that region over the years?
Well, the case of Imo is a very straightforward one. The entire people of Imo do not really want to go back to the nightmare of Chekwas Okorie's administration, which they can't wait to have it end on the 29th of May this year. Coming back to impose his son-in-law on the people of Imo is not acceptable by the people of Imo State. And we have seen what he did with regard to his senatorial election, which has become very controversial. And we are still waiting for INEC to take appropriate action with regard to what happened in Imo State, especially the Olu senatorial zone, where there was brute force. In fact, as I speak, some elders of Imo State, very prominent Nigerians, eminent Nigerians from Imo State, have sent a delegation to the commander of the army barracks in Atobinze to protest the role the soldiers there played working with Chekwas Okorie. And people are going to guard against this kind of thing in the governorship election. The people of Imo State will troop out en masse and vote their choice. The security agencies, especially the military, must not be seen to play the type of role they played in Chekwas Okorie's senatorial election. And so we are confident that once the election in Imo is free, fair, and credible, we are going to come up tops. About PDP controlling most of the southeast, well, you can say now that they lost grounds. Remember that in 2015, the fact was that President Buhari was given just 5% of the votes, which was like a total rejection. But this time is made 25%, and not just making 25%, we now can talk of senators coming from the area, especially Abia North, where we now have former Governor Joseph Carlo emerging, which is also my senatorial zone anyway. And in my senatorial zone, in my House of Representatives, being the federal federal constituency, again, the APC won there, as well as my community ally in being the local government area. My unit, at least people now hear that the likes of former President Obasanjo lost his unit, Vice President Atiku Abubakar lost his unit, and so many other prominent people. I won my unit, I won my ward, and I can also claim victory at the House of Rep senatorial level. These are areas that were like no-go areas in the years before. And so the PDP lost some grounds, and President Buhari made a major entry in the southeast. We know the sentiment and the emotion that went into this campaign, but I would not want to go into those criticisms now because the election has been won and lost. But I can tell you that my people, especially the Igbo people, are not cut out for the opposition. And with the loss of PDP, I assure you, Nigerians will see there will be a run on the party. There will be a serious run on the party, and it will be a shadow of itself. It is going into extinction. The Igbo man doesn't believe that he's for opposition. And I say this because I have been in opposition. I'm the longest standing Igbo person in opposition. I've been in opposition in all my politics up till now. But now I'm just constructively engaged. The party I lead is constructively engaged, but we are still UPP. We are still in the opposition. So I know that opposition is a lonely road, and it's not what the Igbo man is cut out for. I led the Modumegwu Ojukwu to a presidential campaign as his chairman. And I know that in spite of his cult followership, he made a paltry 1.4 million votes in 2003. And when the thing continued to deteriorate and reduce over time, because eventually people still want to go to where power is. They say power goes to where power is. So this is what has happened. And I think PDP has had its last show in the Southeast. The Southeast will start immediately to begin to prepare for the future. And of course, this is what we saw well in advance and felt that running for president in 2019 would be something like running, swimming against the tide, that Nigeria is already operating an unwritten, conventional rotation arrangement. And it becomes clear to most Nigerians that come 2023, the presidential contest will shift to the south. And we felt that we better align with the person we calculated will win the election. And after, and then of course that means that he has 4 more years to complete his 2 terms as guaranteed by our constitution. And then we will come back in 2023 to contest and weigh in again. We didn't think we would have the patience to wait for 8 years of another PDP government that will simply remind us of 16 years of nightmare. But thank God, God answered the prayers of majority of Nigerians, and here we are. So people can now start planning for 2023, unlike what would have been the case if the opposite situation had occurred.
Okay, Chief Chekwas, now if your thesis is anything to go by, are you saying that the Igbo man should not hold independent political view from mainstream, but rather just follow mainstream even if it means playing second fiddle? And given your own thesis, are you not saying that the chances of an Igbo man emerging as the presidential candidate of a major political party, in this case APC you are supporting, a major political party, is brighter now than ever?
Well, let me put it this way. I want Nigerians to remember that until I founded ABGA in 2002, no Igbo man had been a presidential candidate of a major political party. Well, except for the time Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe came out of voluntary retirement to join the ANPP and then became presidential flag bearer of that party because of his stature and charisma and looming image in Nigerian politics. That was the only reason it was possible for him to fly the flag. But don't forget that the likes of late Dr. Alex Ekweme, the likes of Chief Nzeribe, Chief Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, and so many others have tried these things and never even got near to winning nomination. So I saw all of these things well in time because I've been involved for quite a long time. So I felt that we needed to form a national political party that is based on Igbo initiative that can produce an Igbo presidential candidate. And that was what we did. We zoned the presidential slot to the southeast. Otherwise, the structure of Nigeria would have gotten we defeated at the primaries. But because it was zoned, every other delegate had to vote for somebody from that area, and he became our sole candidate. And so he broke the jinx and ran for the election. And of course, everybody now knows what happened to ABGA, and he began to deteriorate. When we couldn't save the soul and spirit of the party, we threw in the towel and went back to the drawing board and got the United Progressive Party now. And here we are. It's clear that the contest in APC for the presidential slot in 2023 will be quite fierce. We can imagine those who already have upper hand control in that party. And so that is where UPP comes in. UPP is already has a policy, a standing policy of its presidential candidate coming from the southeast geopolitical zone until it is actualized. So it is already certain that come rain, come shine, whether I am there or not, UPP will field an Igbo man in 2023. And I tell you what more thing I will do. I want to do, and I want to take steps to reach out to Governor Obiano as soon as these elections, the state election is over, for us to explore the possibility of getting ABGA and UPP back together, because these are two parties with the same DNA. It don't think will please me more. I'm open-minded about it to see that we stop dividing our fronts. And any other political party that is similarly inclined will be brought together in that grand merger that will now position the party as a major force, which will not now be seen as that type of opposition that is weak. It will be a major force. And then, of course, there's need for further sensitization of our people in Nigeria. Igbo people are all over this country. There is no state in Nigeria that you don't have Igbo as the second largest population, second only to the indigenous population. No state, it doesn't exist. So what is the problem of being relevant? It is a problem of leadership. We have not sufficiently mobilized our people. Look at the turnout in the Southeast. It's the poorest. It's not President Buhari or APC that told the Igbo man not to come and vote. There's still job to be done. We had less than 30% turnout, whereas the national average is 35. You saw about 50% or more turnout in the north. And so if over 30 million registered Igbo voters in Nigeria are sensitized and mobilized to vote in 2023, they will decide who wins and who doesn't win an election in Nigeria. We have seen the margin of defeat in 2015. We have seen another one in 2019. It is something that can be managed. It's a doable project. I'm very confident about that.
Okay. It's good to hear that ABGA and UPP, you explore the possibility of coming together. But let me correct you, because you said, apart from Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, no Igbo man has emerged as the candidate of a major political party. In 1999, Dr. Ogbonnaya was given the ticket of a major political party, APP then. And I'm sure many Igbos did not forgive him for bowing to that alliance, pulling out for Dr. Chifolu Falae of the then Alliance for Democracy. Just to correct you there, that an Igbo man was given the candidate.
You are not correcting anything. You have corrected nothing.
No, he was given the ticket of a major political party. APP was a big party, three major parties there.
Then. Let me tell you, Dr. Boni, I know what the story you're alluding to. Dr. Boni is a good friend of mine and my brother. I was with Dimodume Gwojukwu in APP at the time. And we were in Kaduna, where what happened, and Dr. Boni was named the candidate. What we're talking about flying a flag, he never flew the APP flag. Well, as soon as that was done, within 24 hours, I was with Dr. Boni in Abuja. When we returned from Kaduna that very night, the next day we were together in Abuja when this information came that the party will give the nomination to the candidate of the AD under a very spurious alliance. I was so infuriated, I went to Enugu and sued the party. That Dr. Chifolu Falaye was not even a member of the APP. Why would he be flying the APP flag? And of course, you know our judiciary, it was delayed until it became a useless suit. So Dr. Boni did not fly APP flag. We're talking about flying a presidential flag, please. He didn't. What would have been his slot was yanked off his hand and given to, in fact, it was the most outrageous alliance I never seen in the world, where a party with a smaller number of states, a smaller party, 6 states, will now take the first slot, the biggest slot in an alliance over and above a party that had 9 states, because those elections had taken place before the presidential one. That is what I am talking about. I'm not talking about winning and losing the next day. I'm talking about flying a presidential flag. That's why I said you didn't correct anything.
But an Igbo man got the ticket of a major political party, just to make that point. Thank you.
That is not a ticket, please. Don't call it a ticket. How does you describe a presidential ticket in which the person did not come out to campaign for even 1 minute? How do you describe that?
Chief Okorie, can we go back?
Let's just proceed with something that
Yes, let's go back to the elections, the forthcoming elections on March 9th. As you were saying earlier in your answer to Aaron, your party waived nomination fees for youth, women, persons living with disabilities, and you forfeited quite a huge chunk of the conventional methods that parties used to raise funds, so kudos for that. You are fielding a considerable number of youths. A lot of your candidates at the gubernatorial level are in their 30s. But even though we have the statistics for the presidential elections are not encouraging, the youth parties, in quotes, did not amount to up to 100,000 votes. We have 50 million registered voters in the youth demographic in Nigeria. How do you plan to buck this trend of youth apathy and their failure to get involved and actually go out and support their own candidates?
Well, we have a few more days to that election, and we are still campaigning for the gubernatorial and the House of Assembly elections. So we are going to do the much we can within the resources available to us to get the youth to know that this is the opportunity they have. It's not enough to say that the elders have not given them chance and that they don't have the resources. Now we have given them the opportunity. UPP has given them the opportunity. UPP has made it affordable for them. It is for the youth to now use their numerical strength to make a statement. If they fail to make that statement, it's no longer the fault of the party. It's no longer the fault of anybody else's fault, but they use themselves. It means that they are yet to get ready for leadership role. But be that as it may, one thing that is already clear is that many of them have had exposure. Win or lose, the exposure they have had, they have continued even before the election to express gratitude to the party for giving them the opportunity to test the water, to test the ground. And that in a few more years, for those of them who may not win now, what the UPP has done for them will begin to manifest. And they will never forget how they started. So it is something a bit revolutionary that we have opened up for the youth, and it's for them to take advantage of it. But as for promoting that campaigning vigorously to sensitize them and make them realize that it is the opportunity now to make a statement, we will do that till the campaign's end.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's actually go deeper into some of these elections, looking at the Southeast region. Let's start it off from like Abia State, for example.
Yeah.
Of course, we know that Governor Chekwas Okorie is actually returning. What are the chances of UPP there in Abia State to even start
No,
with?
we don't have a very strong governorship candidate in Abia State. That's why I talked about Imo and Enugu. But we have a very, very vibrant, strong House of Assembly candidates across Abia State, and we're expecting to do very well there. As for the Governor Chekwas Okorie returning, is still a contest that is yet to play out. Three major players are in contention. UPP is not one of them at this point in time, because I'm always very realistic in these matters. And there's sure going to be a major encounter, democratic encounter. It's not a done deal for Governor Chekwas Okorie, and it's also not a done deal for the other major contestants. So let's see how it plays out. All I ask, demand is a credible, free and fair election, devoid of violence, devoid of manipulations. And then, of course, Nigerians have also learned, even the government and ANPP, including those who have come to observe the election from outside Nigeria, have all come to one conclusion, that that involving technology in our elections is now compelling, because the country is so vast. It's so difficult to, no matter how hard they have tried, NEC has not been able to get it right in terms of getting the elections start in time, and these card reader machines work perfectly. So an improved technology by way of electronic voting, which UPP began to canvass since 2012, if it's done now, then of course it can be test run in the off-season elections leading to 2023. In fact, this was a demand we made of President Buhari in 2015 when I led the National Executive Committee of our party to pay him a visit after he had won the election. before he was actually sworn in. One of our 3-point demands was to help and sponsor an executive bill for electronic voting system to be used for the next general election. And he made promise that that would be done. He would try to do that because he acknowledged then it was actually the card reader that ensured his victory at that time. And so getting more technology into the system was one of the things he promised to do. But we have seen what had happened with the bills. Of course, the approval had come from the executive arm and then the National Assembly, but because of maybe drafting errors or whatever politics that played out, it was never signed into law. And in writing President Buhari a congratulatory letter, which we dispatched yesterday, we also emphasized that aspect, that it will be a very fitting and lasting legacy. His name will be written in gold if the electronic voting system is introduced under his watch and as early as possible, so that these off-season elections can be used to test run it. By 2023, you will see a lot of upset. There will be nothing like vote buying. There will be nothing like ballot box snatching. This issue of restricted movement, shutting down the economy for about 2 days in a month will never occur again. People traveling from east to north, north to south to vote will be a thing of the past. You can vote from the market, from your farm, from wherever, with your smartphone. But if you are not able to use these phones, then those few who cannot use the phone, and there will be quite few really, we can go to the polling units to vote. And the one beauty of technology is that multiple voting will be totally eliminated. So this is what, once we get to that level, I think it should be part of the next level that the president is talking about. And once we get to that level, then you will see more than 70, 80, 90% participation, not what we are having now, a national average of 35. It doesn't still make for sufficiently legitimate mandate. But that is what we have, and that is what we are living with for the next 4 years.
All right, so you mentioned just your strongest points or your strongest states remain Imo and Enugu State. What about Anambra? What about Ebonyi?
Yeah, we have a strong, I said across the states, but remember Anambra is not going for governorship election because they have done theirs in 2017. And in Imo, in Ebonyi, again, we don't have a strong candidate. That's why I limited myself to these two where I know we have very strong candidates. But as for the state assembly elections, we have very strong, viable, promising candidates across the state and across the country. You will see results coming in from far-flung places in the north where very young men, educated young men, who were not given the opportunity to contest in the parties that had such exorbitant nomination fees, came to our office, in our national secretariat, and were availed the opportunity to go and contest in their places. And the report we are getting makes us quite comfortable, quite happy that we took the right decision. And incidentally, we are the only party out of 91 odd political parties that did what we did with regard to empowering both the youth, the female, the women, and the physically challenged.
Indeed, 91 odd political parties. But Chief, you also mentioned that you're a very realistic person. Looking at the states where you're fielding candidates, we see that you are even fielding candidates in states in the Southwest. How realistic is that?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is this, that all our candidates, all those aspirants that came to us to contest in all of these states, we gave them opportunity. You will never have imagined what somebody can do until you give him a chance. So we gave them opportunity, and they are doing what they can under the circumstance. But we are looking at certain practical realities, the possibilities of winning in the face of practical realities. But as for giving them the opportunity to run, we gave them opportunity across Nigeria, the whole 36 states of the country. We have candidates because we didn't deny any person a nomination just because by perception we believe he may not be equal to it. No, we never did, because even in the state assembly elections we are talking about now, we are making major impact in areas that were by candidates we never thought that had such capacity. And you know these things, when in Nigeria, there are still some kind of zoning at the local level. At the local level, if you come from the right part of that state assembly constituency, some people still believe that if certain sections have produced candidates, it will be the turn of another section. And if you are lucky, you have a good candidate, an acceptable candidate who is from the right part, which is considered due to present a representative at the House of Assembly level, you see that people will begin to rally him, his own people. Even the resources he didn't have at the onset will begin to flow to him. This is what we are beginning to experience. So that's why we gave everybody a chance. And if in the course of trying to actualize their mandate, they are not able to cope with the challenges, well, they have to wait for the next time. But we are going back to the drawing board to make sure that next time, if you are talking about 3 major parties in Nigeria, it will be more of a tripod the next time to come. And you can be sure the UPP combination that we are beginning to think about now will be one of the 3. And get me right, I am yet to make the approach, but I'm just flying the kite. But I definitely will make the approach because the situation is very conducive, very friendly atmosphere for that type of combination and merger. And I can tell you, Igbo people home and abroad will jump at it. They're already pushing me to say, please, this is what you must do. You must show a large heart. You are hot. Don't take it to heart. Please go and lead this combination. And one thing going for Governor Obiano is that he was not part of the crisis. And all of those who are part of the crisis are out of the way. He was invited to come, and he may be a beneficiary of what happened, but he was not part of the crisis. And so I will be comfortable to explore these possibilities. And he has sufficient Igbo patriotism in him. That much I have seen from a distance. But in due course, in less than 2 weeks, the move will be made, and the world will know about it.
Well, you seem very optimistic that UPP will be the 3rd first going to further elections. But help us make sense of it. At the presidential elections, you explored the option of adopting a candidate, President Muhammadu Buhari. Why did the party not adopt that option at the state level?
Oh, no, that would be killing the party. If we do that, then we wouldn't even, for instance, APC has its own nomination fee. We have not thrown away the core values of UPP. We have core values. We have a manifesto that's revolutionary, that is second to none. We have a manifesto that has provision for self-determination of all the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria. We have a manifesto that talks about referendum, state police and community policing, the unconditional release of prisoners of conscience, a lot of devolution of power and so on and so forth. We don't want to destroy all that very key, important agenda of the party just because we are adopting. We have not merged into APC. We did not go into any relationship with APC as a party. Our relationship with President Buhari, and after that we contested for every other office. And that is the only way we can keep the spirit and intendment of UPP alive until we now begin to mobilize. Yes, for not going in 2019, we made it very, very clear. And now we will start almost immediately to prepare for 2023. And a lot of work will be done, part of which is what I've just, the hint I've just given. There's a lot more that I will not be able to say at this point in time, because so many people will get to work. And those who are ready to get to work have already asked to be absorbed, to render service voluntarily, because everybody is concerned that an ethnic race with this enormous number and spread in Nigeria will be so irrelevant. And don't forget, many people have forgotten that the one reason why Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe came out of retirement to contest to contest under the platform of the NPP in the Second Republic was because he found out that all his people were fighting over who would be running mate. Indigo people, more prominent ones, can't start mentioning their names, but the records are there. So he wondered how they should come to play second fiddle when they didn't play second fiddle in the struggle for independence of this country. So he came out of retirement. And when the media confronted him with changing his mind, he said he was entitled to change his mind. And when he was further prodded to ask him why he chose a smaller party, NPP, instead of the big party, NPN, where most of his former colleagues were already positioned, even from Igbo land, he made a very remarkable statement that impacted on me even at that time. He said his people, that was where he put it. You know, he was never a tribalistic person or sectional, but he still put it this way. He said, my people will be better off being a majority in a minority party where their voice will be heard, instead of being a minority in a majority party where they will be assimilated without, absorbed without being noticed. So that was what he did. And of course, NPP became more like the third force and the beautiful bride. I remember cartoons at that time where the Grey Zik was decorated with necklace, beads and all of that, and even earrings, looking like a lady, because he was beautiful bride. But he went ahead and went into an accord with MPN, and the benefit of that accord to Igbo people is immeasurable. So he has always believed in engagement. He did the same engagement with NCNC in the First Republic, and it was beneficial. So what we did now, even UPP, was some simulation of that engagement for the purpose of presidential election. But 2023, you will see a major force. Even if I call it third force, it will even appear as if we are already assuming a third position. No, it will be a major force that will form government in this country. I am optimistic about that.
Okay, Chief Okorie, my questions, two-pronged. First question, you're flying these kites of reconciling or with ABGA to come together. Is it not a sign of weakness that your UPP party is not going very far? Because during the governorship election, where Osita Chidoka flew the ticket of your party, he came a distant third. That's one question. The second leg, going by this, your theory of bringing the Igbos together under one umbrella, no, let me use another term, under one party. I don't want to use the term umbrella because of what it represents in today's politics. Bringing them under one party, right? As a strategy moving forward in 2023, don't you think a better strategy would have been for Igbos to be strong in the two major parties, try and collect the ticket of these two major parties so that we have a situation where two Igbos are contesting, as the Yorubas did in 1999?
Well, let me take the first one about whether what we want to do is a sign of weakness. No, it couldn't have been. As I said, it's a mark of realism and political open-mindedness, because given what we went through and given the fact that it took me seven years to mobilize people, and in 3 attempts to get ABGA formed. ABGA was thought that was founded after 3 attempts. So it wasn't these days. Like these days, you just write some love letter to INEC and they will give you certificate of registration. No, it was a very serious battle. And under 2 years, some hawks came and hijacked it. But be that as it may, I'm still very passionate about that platform. But having left it and founded UPP, we've never tried to meddle in his affairs, but we watch with pain as his fortunes continue to dwindle. And we believe that it's rather than weakness, a mark of moral strength for us to put behind us what happened, to go ahead and call two parties that have the same DNA, that have the same parentage, to come together instead of dividing their forces, team up with their forces for improved democratic performance in a large Nigerian space. That is the reason behind that. It's not weakness, but it's strength, moral strength. And going to the second one, then you mentioned about Chidoka's. Everybody knew that Chidoka was the candidate to beat. Chidoka performed wonderfully in the field. I was there because it was a single election. I campaigned with him hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, every ward in Anambra State. And I saw the enthusiasm, the excitement of the people. And of course, during the debate, he easily won the debate. Everybody was expecting that he will win the final election. It was in Anambra that the issue of vote buying became so prominent. Although we accepted the result because we didn't want to go to tribunals and waste further money or energy, but we took the issue of vote buying to the highest level, to the national, drew national attention to it, and ANPP began to do something about it. And ever since, it has reduced the incidence of vote buying. What never happened in Anambra in its history happened at that time when a governor won 21 local government out of 21. And we alerted the country that if vote buying was allowed to continue, we will have a situation where treasury looters, money launderers, armed robbers, the likes of the Evans can become governor and so on, because all they would need to do is steal money or launder money and loot treasury and then buy themselves back to power. I think that touched the mind of the handlers of our democratic process. And so we have seen what has happened. That is, that has been reduced to a large extent. That is on that one. But when you are looking at the other one about getting Igbo people go under one platform, we don't have to copy the Yoruba approach. No two situations. The Yorubas don't have the number we have across the country. The Yorubas are actually concentrated in a particular part of the country. Igbo people are widespread. And Igbo people have lived, for instance, maybe this is part of history people may get to hear from me for the first time. They may not know it, but others do. In the year 2000, and that was the year the Caliphate celebrated their bicentenary celebration. I was in Guzo, in Zamfara State, where I was special guest of honor at the Igbo Day celebration there. Of course, it was a big carnival, 42 traditional dancing groups from 42 communities displayed at their stadium. You couldn't believe you have such Igbo presence and culture being displayed. But what was remarkable was that I was introduced to an Igbo settlement in what they call Northern Guzo that had been there for 400 years by the year 2000. What it simply meant was that they were already there 200 years before Othman Danfodio came into Sokoto to set up the caliphate. And don't forget that even Zik, as old as he later became, was born in Zungeru. And so on and so forth. So Igbo people now have, well, the point I'm making is that they have relations, they have in-laws, they have cousins and nephews who are not actually strictly Igbo, that are built up over the centuries. So when you are talking of building bridges across, because it's not going to be Igbo alone, no one ethnic group can deliver a presence in this country. But so when you are talking of building bridges, you now need to mobilize all these enormous number, spread out all over the country, and form what you may call, of course, there is already what is called the Igbo grid, national grid. It's already existing through the town unions and so many other organizations. So tap into that grid, build the bridges, and come up with with your candidate. The reason why the APC option may not be, the Yoruba option may not be applicable to our people is that Nigeria is here to be restructured. Look at it. Out of 774 local governments, only 95 are in the Southeast. And so when you go for a national convention of a party to elect a candidate, delegates are drawn equally from all the local government areas of the country. And delegates will be coming from the Southeast with just from the 95 local government, when Northwest alone has 188 local government. What an imbalance. So the only way the woman, that's why Dr. Kwame couldn't become a presidential candidate. That is the reason why Chief Iwanyanwu, Aton Zeribe, and so many others. Even our President General of Ohanese, Chief Wodo, also contested. And you remember the famous "My heart is bleeding" statement he made at Ego Square. It's all as a result of this very, very obnoxious national structure. And so we decided that the only way the Igbo man can stand a chance of presenting himself to contest for the highest office of the land is a party that is sympathetic to that agenda, that will zone as a banner of deliberate policy that slot to the Southeast. So our situation and that of the Yorubas cannot be said to be the same. And if you look at the way APC is now, I can go ahead and tell you that they have already cornered the machinery of the APC, as it is now.
Well, speaking of restructuring, which you just mentioned, you gave as a criteria that the UPP will only support a presidential candidate that is going to bring about restructuring, devolution of powers, establishment of state police. What assurances do you have that President Muhammadu Buhari will achieve this? And also, you initially declared that no rational... May I finish, sir? You initially declared that no rational Igbo man would support President Buhari. What informed your volte-face on that?
Well, the point is that as a party, a friendly opposition party that is in collaboration with the president, we now have more access where we'll be able to press in a very diplomatic and persuasive manner some of these issues, because you can't force them. And already APC set up the El-Rufai committee that went around Nigeria and came up with very wonderful recommendations that almost tallied with most of the things that we have in the UPP manifesto. So now, of course, it came too close to election, and the party couldn't make it a policy of party through the neck, because if it becomes a policy of the party through the neck, of course, the president still remains a loyal member of APC. He will look at it. But that is, to me, even a better and a more feasible approach to realizing it within the period of the president's remaining 4-year tenure. In the case of the PDP, I found so much of deceit, because I saw a presidential candidate that will only talk about restructuring when he's campaigning in the South. And I never saw him mention one word of restructuring each time he campaigned in the North, except in Plateau State. You know, so I saw a lot of deceit, and such a person could not be trusted. But unfortunately, there were some people who thought differently, especially amongst my people. But today, we have indicated, many people call me now and say, "You are the man who saw tomorrow." I'm not Nostradamus, but I did a good projection. And I can also tell you that the issue of restructuring remains fundamental in the core value of the UPP. And so we are going to continue as much as we can within this relationship we have with President Buhari to get him to look at it from a more wider perspective, as something that will benefit every state in Nigeria, and something that will engender tremendous national development and kind of liberate the states a little bit from total dependence on the federal government for allocations month after month. So these are some of the things we intend to do, because if you look at the billboards we set up across the country, we didn't just say we were supporting President Buhari to win the 2019 election. In fact, what we wrote was that it was a coalition for President Buhari for 2019 to 2023. So it's an ongoing thing. It has just begun, and it has to continue till then. And then, of course, the Igbo people got the alliance for a major encounter in 2023. A prominent Igbo person will be a presidential candidate. It doesn't have to be me. I have a very open mind about this. After all, when I founded ABGA in 2002, I also had the opportunity of presenting myself, just like the late Chief Awolowo did, and Manu Kanu did, Waziri Ibrahim did. They founded their parties and became presidential candidates. I remained at that time the only one that founded a political party and did not use it to run for president. And I was so celebrated. Ohaneze Ndigbo gave me the title of Obatule Ndigbo, the one that killed an elephant for his people. And I'm the only one that dead or alive that has an Ohaneze title. So all I pray to God is to keep me alive to see an Igbo man become president of this country, even for a short moment. Some people say, oh, if Igbo man goes there, they don't control the army, they will throw him out. Let him go there first, let them throw him out. You know?
All right, Chief Okorie. Since you've spoken elaborately about Igbos actually scattered around Nigeria, and almost speaking like it's almost like a disadvantage to the Igbos and their bid to becoming president and their bid to actually wield a political might in Nigeria. How, and of course, you also mentioned about 30% of Igbos actually came out to vote in this presidential election. That means the voter apathy is at a very, very sky high. How do we curb this? What do we need to do that we begin to see more Igbos participating in elections, participating in the general process?
Well, that is a challenge that, that is facing us right away. And that is why we are not going to be waiting till election time before coming to endorse one person or the other. We must start now. And so a lot of sensitization, a lot of mobilization where we go into it. And again, when you introduce technology, there are those who are so afraid of coming out to vote in the open for fear of attacks, for fear of even Boko Haram attack, not necessarily some kind of their neighbors or their host communities attacking them. So, and the Igbo man likes his life so much. That's why there's little or no violence, even in elections in our area. We value life so much. And but if you sensitize them, get them to understand that they can determine their own fate, even where they are domiciled, then electronic voting system will be the next facilitating infrastructure of the Electoral Commission that will release this potent force to real practical political action. So we are not going to wait. And then we will also do, outside of the party, don't forget, I'm also the founder of Igbo Cultural Development Initiative, which is a socio-cultural organization that has been there since 1992. And we are going to use that platform to reach out the non-partisan socio-cultural groups. So it will be a multi-dimensional approach, and you begin to see the outcome. I do believe I'm still believing that Governor Obiano will collaborate with me, and then we will expand those who will come together to make it work. Then you will see that in 2022, when the Anambra State governorship election will take place, it will be an easy walkover for that combined force. And that will be where we send the signal to Nigerians as how prepared we are to engage in 2023. Some of us have established friendship across the country. Some of us have had so many of our political associates from outside Igbo land coming to commend us that it is now that we are playing the right kind of politics, irrespective of what Well, I really hate to raise the issue of Ohaneze here, but irrespective of what that Panibo organization that ought not to be partisan in any form, irrespective of what it did, but our modest contribution has widened, brought our people more into the major stake. Nobody is going to tell us now that we produce 5%. So we are going to be making some demands. And it's comforting too, that the president has already, without even being prompted, announced to the Nigerian people that he will form an inclusive government. We expect that inclusiveness to stretch to every aspect, not only in political appointments, even in the MDAs, and of course, more importantly, the security apparatus of the country. A situation where the Igbo man is not represented in the National Security Council is disheartening. It's not acceptable. It's not right. Whatever is the reason for it, it has not been. Nobody has been able to convince anybody about that exclusion. So I believe he has opportunity now to right the wrongs.
Indeed, Chief, you just preempted my next question. The president is expected to dissolve his present cabinet and most likely reshuffle. And in the past, he had been accused of lopsidedness in appointments. I just wanted to know if you have specific demands in appointments in the next cabinet. And also, I wanted to find out from you your perception of the just concluded elections. Do you think it was an improvement from 2015? What were the high points for you, and what would you like to see replicated by the electoral body in the March 9 elections?
Yeah, well, given that you said I preempted the first question, so I'll take it that I have actually done some bit of justice. Instead of repeating myself, I'll go to the second one.
But do you have specific demands in appointments and positions? Do you have specific demands in
no, we did it. No. Okay, let me touch on that. We made no specific demands, except that we said let there be an inclusive government in which every section of the country will have equal stake. As a matter of fact, when the first blueprint and we gave to him and the memo before going public to declare support for him, we said that we want his imminent victory, because we were confident he was going to win, to be something like of a national consensus, to assume the status of a national consensus, and that we further predicted that his victory will be such that we make any litigation against it to be seen as a mere national distraction. And I think those two have actually been achieved. So there's equal stake. We cannot make claims. We don't have to vote exactly at the same number that the people in Katsina voted and all that, but we can now make some claims. Now, we didn't go as UPP specifying, making demands for the party. You know, we didn't do that. And we never did that, even when we met him in 2015. All we asked then was for improved economy, to declare state of emergency in power. And then, of course, we demanded technology in electoral process, even in 2015, in writing. And then, of course, we said that he should do everything to recover what we call all recoverables from the looted funds. And he was quite enthused with that expression, recover all recoverables, because we believe that even 1/4 of what was looted by these PDP treasury looters will be able to meet most of his campaign promises. So now he's gone beyond that. In spite of his late commencement of his government in 2015, in spite of the health challenges that he had, still what he has done is unprecedented. This is the only government that came and did not discriminate against contractors who were obviously engaged by previous administrations. Do you know what PDP governments did? Every PDP government cancelled contracts of a previous government of the same party, or even abandoned, awarded new ones, And that was why after 16 years, this country was littered, especially in the Southeast, littered with abandoned projects all over the country. Do you also know that when the President Buhari commissioned the Aba Independent Power Project at Ariaria, it turned out to be the first project ever commissioned by any Nigerian president or head of state since 1970 that the war ended. You know, many people, when we talk about marginalization, people think we are just crying wolf. It was just that project, the first one. And that's the question I posed to you, PDP, and I will continue to pose it until I get an answer. To show me one project that was started and completed by PDP in 16 years anywhere in the Southeast. It's a very wicked party, I tell you. He hates our people so much and manipulates their leaders to always follow them, and they give them nothing in return. You know, so that is with regard to that. But I've lost track of your second question, if you may remind me.
Your perception of INEC's performance in the just concluded elections, the high points you would like to see replicated in the governorship and State House of Assembly's elections.
Yeah, first I will tell you that this particular election is the best Nigeria ever had. The best in the history of our modern democracy from 1999 to this time. If you remember in 2007, President Yar'Adua had 22 million votes or 24 thereabouts, with President Buhari trailing behind with 11 million votes. And of course, everybody knew that no vote was cast anywhere. You couldn't talk about vote buying because there was no vote to buy. You just settle the INEC people, they sit down and agree with whatever you have written up, and they will announce it. This was what we kept having until INEC, from the Professor Jiga, things began to improve. When votes started counting, the incidence of vote buying now set in. Vote buying is an indication, is an acceptance of the fact that the voter has become a bit more relevant. So now we have seen an improvement on that. You could see a situation where former Vice President Atiku Abubakar won in areas that nobody ever thought he would win. I mean, the issue of Southeast was given to him. In fact, we thought he would have done better there. But look at him winning at in Oyo State. Look at him winning in Ondo State. These are APC states. Look at him winning in Edo State. Not only they have the governor there, they have the national chairman from that state. So he made quite an impressive showing. You know, and look at the South-South. He practically won in every of the 6 states in the South-South and all of the states in the Southeast. And the margin was just very small in other areas. So this is a hotly contested election that was managed by a very credible INEC body. Anybody faulting this type of returns will have to remember the immediate past and know whether they have done well. And I'm so comforted that practically all the international and local observers have given a pass mark to INEC, unlike before. So I expect, therefore, that INEC, having seen some of the problems of this election, especially the incidence of card reader not working in many places, resulting to quite a large number of council votes, we take steps to ensure that that does not repeat itself in the next election. We want to see an improvement in the state assembly, governorship and state assembly election, an improvement on what we have done in the presidential election. We want to see a situation where there will be less violence. And on the electorate, they should be able to now know that if they try and go and overvote, whichever method they use in overvoting, because I never promised the incidence of overvoting was over, but if they go and overvote, all they will end up doing is to have the entire result cancelled, because the guideline is clear on that. So going to overvote does not actually benefit the person overvoting. So the electorate should be able to learn that from what has happened, and we hope that the next election coming in less than 2 weeks will be able to give us more hope about the future.
Chief Chekwas Okorie, National Chairman for United Progressive Party, UPP, thank you for those insights on pragmatism, reconciliation, and playing the long game. We wish you all the best on March 9th. It's time now for a short break on the morning show.
Thank you for having me here.
When we return, it will be time for us to review the top stories on today's newspapers. Stay with us.